Good morning, and welcome to another very early edition of American Scouser's pre-match show. I'm back in the host chair here as I talk with some of my friends about the game we're going to see in less than an hour. So, to bring on some of these friends, let me bring in my co-host of the fantasy football show that we do every Thursday, and someone who hopefully isn't going to laugh me off the bridge because I captain Huang Hee-chan this weekend, Mr. Chris Galvin. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. It looks like I'm fading out of my picture, like I'm Back to the Future or something. So I may come off air and change my shirt. But
Or
yeah,
you know
no,
the score already.
yeah, it's a outstanding day here. It is too early. The dog has already got me up and out twice. So it's going to be a long ass day. But it starts better than yesterday because yesterday the dog got me up after being sick all over the floor in the kitchen. So I will take this over that any morning. So yeah, here we are. Morning, lunchtime kickoff in England means
Perfect.
miserable day for me.
Perfect. And bringing on another friend, Gordo from rainy Chicago. It's rainy around here.
It's a little overcast. I'm like an hour and a chunk of change south of Chicago, so sometimes I get Chicago weather, sometimes I don't. But what's going on? I
It'll
changed my headline to be I'll be Biff Tannen today if he's going to be
perfect. I was
Marty
gonna say
McFly.
the rain's gonna come get you anyway, so don't worry. And last but not least, Mecca, how are you?
I'm good, but I haven't showered yet, and it's great because nobody can tell in American Scouser land.
We haven't once we invent smell vision, that's when we're really gonna kick off because we're gonna want people to know what all the essence is of these pre-match shows. So let's get into it, guys. The lineup dropped, and this is what we're looking at. We have Allison back in goal. I don't know, surprising a little bit, maybe a bit early coming back. We'll get everyone's thoughts, of course. Trent, Kwanzaa, Van Dyke, Simicast round out the back four. Endo, Sobo, Gravenberg, Diaz, Salah, Nunez. Maka, let's start with you. Let's start with Ali. Is it, obviously when he went down, a lot of us felt it was the hammy, could be 4 to 6 weeks. We know that he's a robot, but is this too soon back for him, you think? Or if he's ready, he's just good to go?
I would trust the medical staff. I mean, they have all the best technology you could possibly have these days to monitor injuries. So I'd imagine they know exactly what's what and that they're quite comfortable with him playing. And I mean, the Crystal Palace will be a game that you would expect Kelleher to be able to handle. So I would imagine it's not a criticism of Kelleher that he's not starting. It's just Allison is the number one keeper, and if he's ready, he's ready. So let's just hope that science has won out, because if it hasn't, there's going to be trouble.
Yeah, Gordo, do you think that obviously we're always just playing a game of what if, right, and hypotheticals. Do you think that this possibly could maybe hurt the psyche of Kelleher just a tad, given what Ali just went through?
No, I don't think so. I think that if this had come on the heels of the Fulham game, then yes. But the fact that he kind of got a chance to redeem himself and get that shutout against Sheffield, I think that really helps. He made a couple of saves in there, so I think that maybe if we had the same debacle midweek, that this would be a situation where he's looking at some potential mental issues. But I think he got a chance to dust that off. So unfortunately, though, I think he was starting to get in the groove a little bit. So, but this is a game, Palace away has always kind of been a bogey team, and it's an early kickoff. So it makes me feel better seeing Allison, but hopefully he'll stay healthy for the 90 minutes.
Yeah, agreed. Gally, looking at that back four, we'll slowly move up a little bit. Kwanzaa and Van Dyke together, I think the only possible surprise you could say would be Kwanzaa in there. Given Kanate coming back off injury, this seems like it was probably the most likely, but did you expect maybe to see Kanate there?
I mean, I think if I was betting on it, I would have bet Kanate just because he's the first choice center back. And if it wasn't Kanate, maybe Gomez, but he gives you cover at both right and left back. So you need him on the bench. I think that what it comes down to with Kanate is with Matip being out for the year, unless they can strengthen that position in January, this kid's got to play big boy minutes. And this is a good spot to do it. He's a strong lad. You got to be that way to play against, Edson, Edward, and Mateta and the entire type of front line they have. So I think this makes sense. You let him play with Van Dijk. He gets comfortable and familiar with it. And then you just rotate through. And this is with one eye on Arsenal, making sure that Konate is fit and ready to go and start the match against Arsenal, which, arguably will be probably at the time we play it more important than the City match ends up being at this point, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, seeing how Arsenal's doing in the league, we keep talking about City being the team to look out for over your shoulder, but if Arsenal continues playing the way they're playing, and they don't buckle in March like they do, then that'll be the next team to look out for. Mecca, Endo with another start here. This is rewarding, reward for the form, or kind of lack of options. What do you think?
Probably a bit of both, but I hope it's a reward because he's a proper number 6. I think, I like McAllister a lot, but he's not a defensive midfielder. He's more the way Gerrard used to play at that position when Rodgers was there. He's there to make the play rather than to break it up. Whereas Endo just seems happy to just break it up. He reminds me, and we said it on the Thursday pod before, about he reminds me a bit of Lucas. He has a simple job to do. He gets the ball, he gives it away. Occasionally gets the odd screamer, which we're all happy for. But I hope it's a reward because there's a difference in how our structure is when he's in there than when McAllister is in there, because he does the simple things. And it's really interesting watching him play when the back four have the ball. He's just there getting into little pockets in the behind the opposition attackers, just looking for that simple pass that he can release somebody else then with the ball. He's the throughput player. He's not the one that we're going to get the inspirational 40-yard ball onto somebody's feet, but he's going to be the one that links the defense into the attacking midfield. So I think it's definitely a bit of a reward, but also, if everybody was fit, maybe he wouldn't be starting today. But I'm glad he is. I think he's a good player to have.
Absolutely. I think, Gordo, speaking of starts, Soboslai again starting. Do you think, I would imagine that most of these guys who have been getting these consistent 90s, so the Mo's, the Diaz's, the Sobos, the Van Dijks, the Trents, they're going to get the rest in Europa this week. Do you think that's the case? Do you think obviously it depends on how the match goes, but let's say it's going well, they'll do their 55, 60 minutes and go into Europa? Or is it just a permanent spot here that Klopp wants to make sure that there's always these 4 or 5 guys that are getting the full 90?
You'd like to think that he kind of rotates a little bit for Europa. Job's done. So they don't need the points. So, he's obviously going to want to get points because that's what he always says. It's whatever competition that we're playing at the moment is the most important competition that you could be in. But I think that we'll see. I think this is more a challenging game. And I think that right now, the way that the league is shaken up and on everyone dropping points left and right on a weekly basis, I think this is a really important 3 points here. So I think he's going to stick with these guys as long as they can go. So, if the game does kind of change hands and goes into our favor in a way that, we get a couple of goals ahead, maybe we see these guys come off and they get some minutes in Europa. But I really think
Well, I told Gordo the rain was coming for him, and it did, and he didn't believe me. So now he's gonna learn. He's gonna learn a thing. Good morning, Serzi. Serzi is here with us, and seems like a good time to say thank you all for always coming up and supporting us here at American Scouser. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, give us a like, and check out Reckless Coffee Roasters for any sort of gift you're looking for still this Christmas season. They've got fantastic coffee and great deals. So check them out if you are looking for anything little to add on to anyone's lists. Sir Z, or is it good night? It is 4 a.m. out here in California. However you want to treat it, that is your call specifically.
Mike, that just depends on whether or not you went to bed, Sir Z. That's really the question for me. It's either good morning or how in the hell was your evening? And I want to know a little bit about it if you're still up. So Hopefully you're still up. That would have made for a better story. If you're not, well, why don't you just type in that you are? Because, well, that would be the better story for the morning. I'll say this about that midfield. I'm excited about Endo. I get nervous when Soboslai and Gravenberch are both on the pitch at the same time because they both like to go forward so often, and I think at times they leave players behind them vulnerable. So it makes me more comfortable with it being Endo and not McAllister. It's too bad McAllister's hurt because I really think this was an opportunity to start McAllister in the midfield, but obviously he's banged up. I'll say this about the Europa League. I really hope Endo gets a third start midweek and that he starts with Elliott and possibly Gravenberch. So if you see Gravenberch be the first one yanked today at 60 minutes and Jones comes in, because I think we still have to figure out who the best two players alongside Gravenberch are to allow us to get the best out of him. Because I still think, as much as I think he's a talent, I think you see him like glide on the pitch for literally 5-10 minutes, and he gives you these great periods of his performance. But very rarely have I seen him put in a 60 to 90 minute performance that made me say, like, yeah, that's a guy who's going to run your midfield. So I think it's interesting, and it'll be interesting to see how he does in possession, because I think we see when Jones isn't on the pitch that our midfield gives the ball away in critical spots a little too often. So I think it'll be really interesting to me to see how Soboslai and Gravenberch get on today. Luckily, it's against a toothless Palace that doesn't have their two best attacking players.
Yeah, hopefully it just gives the club another option at midfield with those three. If anything, it just adds to that variance and that flexibility. Because if any, you want that specifically because you want to be able to put out these different rotationally put out these different lineups if you have to. And rotationally, Mecca, Gakpo and Nunez roulette is what it seems like it's going to turn into up front, because Diaz and Salah look to be pretty locked in at the left and right wings. How do you feel about the Nunez Gakpo situation? Are you on the fence of Nunez is still trying to find his place in the team and just works really hard, or do you think he's a pivotal piece to that front three?
I don't know if he's trying to find his place in the team, but he's still trying to find his way into the goal with the amount of misses he has. I don't know. I'm sort of, the more I watch him, we talked on Thursday. He's very pivotal about the setting other people up, but the amount of chances that he misses that are, I call them high skill chances. Like, you don't expect your high skill player up front to be missing some of those. We'd be 10 goals ahead, or he would be 10 goals ahead probably at this stage of the season in all competitions, and we might have a bit more aura up front. He's chaotic. We love that part about him, and I'm sure other teams hate the fact that he's chaotic, but he's also chaotic for us sometimes, whereas Gakpo is nice and steady. Like, you know what you're going to get with Gakpo, but he does kind of recess back into the midfield a little bit too much, which means we're not often left with three up front. So it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. So I would hope that we're looking at the opposition defenses and seeing what kind of attack they would not like to face, and then switching between whether it's Nunez and Gakpo that way. But it wouldn't be a conversation if Nunez put away all of those nice 1v1s and open goals that he had. Mm-hmm. I think Gakpo would be asking for, could he, hack
on the left
frame, and so he could go out on that spot. But, we're Liverpool fans, even though we sometimes mock and insult our players in a humorous manner. You really want Nunez to be scoring those goals, because a goal scoring Nunez is up there on paper with Haaland. And that's the only difference between them right now. So I know Haaland misses a lot, but he scores the easy ones. No, Nunez to score the easy ones.
Nunez is actually a better all-around footballer than Haaland. Haaland just does the one thing Nunez has to finish in his game, which is become a great finisher. My thing is this, and I said it Monday night, and Bickler agreed with me. I think Timuchin was kind of on the fence. There's a reason that Nunez is getting all these starts in key matches, and I think personally that the manager knows that Mo prefers to play with Nunez, and they've created an understanding. And Mo has gone to the manager and said, if it's up to me, I want that guy on the pitch. Because since Nunez started the beginning of this season and kind of took over the number 9 spot, Mo's numbers have drastically improved from last season when Gakpo was leading the line as the 9. And I know this is like blasphemous to say out loud, but we all quickly forget how many sitters that Bobby used to miss sitting in front of goal. And we would literally say, he does all the other things. And don't get me wrong, I'm not comparing these players. But we've never had great finishing numbers from any of the top three. Mo, Mane, and Firmino got way more opportunities than any other big threes. That's what we did. We scored in volume. When we get volume shots is when we scored. And I think as long as Nunez is creating for others and working hard and fitting into the system, Klopp can deal with the misses. I genuinely believe that because he knows and believes the goals will come, but he's creating goals for others. I mean, in the last 4 matches, he's been involved in like 80% of our goals, and he's played in 60% of the minutes. We've also scored twice as many goals this year when he's on the pitch compared to when he's off. And I don't think that those type of stats don't go overlooked by a manager. And I think Gakpo offers you more versatility at this point as you're limited with attacking options, because he can come in the midfield or come in on the left or the center. And I just think that that's where we're at. I think Gakpo is going to, unfortunately, start a lot of Europa League matches and League Cup matches and the midweek matches. And I think Nunez is going to get the majority of the starts from the beginning. That's just my opinion. I think it has more to do with Mo than it does Nunez or scoring goals.
I think we'd be a lot less biased against Nunez if he stopped messing around with his bloody hair and just shaved it all off.
You can mess around with your hair when you score the goals, right? It's like whatever the hell you want.
Speaking of good hair.
You can get laser white teeth if you want to as you're finishing goals. That's fine with me.
Speaking of laser white teeth and
good hair.
Bring
I gotta stop coming on as a guest. I get nothing but abuse. I just gotta go back.
What do you mean?
And that's the way to go, I think.
What do you mean? You've got a great beard. You've got a great beard.
We only kid because we love you. If we didn't like you, we wouldn't even talk to you.
Yeah, that's the American way.
You've just been sitting in the spot down in the bottom corner.
You're hanging in the green room by yourself in the green room.
Speaking of green room, Gord over here is doing his like best Unabomber impression over there.
I figured this is where I thought this is the room that he goes to with the duck. Like this is like the room in Goodfellas when the guy walks in and Joe Pesci thinks he's getting made and he just sees the dead animal on the wall and he's like, shit. But the duck walks in that room, thinks it's getting a bath. Next thing you know, it just sees Gordo in like a poncho with a knife. And he's just like, sorry.
Oh, it's fantastic. Timothy, we have gone over the lineup here a bit. Let me pull it back up here for everyone who's joining in who hasn't seen it yet. Thoughts? Thoughts on the lineup? Did I?
Thoughts. I thought you said butts, and I was like, yes.
But
not this podcast, Temujin. That's the other one.
When I looked at the lineup, I was like, is it just too early or what? But I don't know. We find out what we do in January, I think, today, right? We're not going to get a center back conversation. I guess might end up today if Kwanzaa comes out and puts in a good shift. I think we're like, yeah, we're sticking with what we got over here. And Nunez is the only other shocker. I think Gravenberch, I thought Jones would get a look out there before him. And the Nunez thing kind of like shocks me. I would have preferred Gakpo, and judging by the minutes, I thought it would be Gakpo in some ways. But yeah, it'll be interesting. It's a really attacking lineup again. Hopefully Endo holds up behind that midfield duo in front of him.
Yeah, we were talking that Endo has been capable of holding that shape a bit better, being a proper 6, right? Yeah. And being able to, even if Sobo and Gravenberch tend to push up a little bit more, hopefully having Endo there will sort of steady that ship back there. And so
Trent yes. has looked better, in my opinion, when Endo has come on. I think it's given Trent more license to go forward and play the inverted position and actually pick out a pass. I thought Trent was I thought Trent was better last match than he was in the City match, and I thought he was good in the City match. So I think that Trent actually benefits from Endo playing alongside of him, which, as you know, Timuchin would always say, oh, amazing, you put a real big boy 6 in the middle of the pitch and you tell Trent to stay out on the right, and all of a sudden he actually creates more. I think Trent is a big key for today as well, because I think I don't know if you have the Crystal Palace lineup, but they are basically showing up like this is Roy 101. Like they are literally gonna sit back today and look for 1-2 chances to hit us on the counter. So they're starting like defenders in midfield. It could be a really, really defensive setup today. It's part of the reason I thought maybe he just went with Nunez just to basically try to run at him at times. It's going to be interesting to see where it goes.
I guess the only difference there that you could see maybe Gakpo in that role, kind of bringing that Bobby flavor in a bit, where he's able to break down a low block, not the same way that Nunez will absolutely run in behind, but if there's nowhere to run in behind, then where is he going to go, right?
I do agree with that, but I think where Klopp comes in this is he hopes that they score an early goal and that Palace has to come out and come forward, and if they don't, he has Gakpo to come in. And Gakpo's the one substitute that allows him to change the formation at the moment. If you start Gakpo, you're just bringing Nunez in to basically like for like through the center. You're probably not bringing him in for a midfielder and dropping Gakpo back at that point. And I think Gakpo has to play 90 minutes midweek in a match that really doesn't matter, because Klopp's going to want adults out there. He's not going to send a bunch of kids out there in a European match, in my opinion. So I think that it'll be interesting to see what happens today. Early goal seems really important to me in this one.
I just want to point out that it's a Roy Hodgson team, so if they go a goal down, they're just got to sit back even more.
I was going to say, I don't see Crystal Palace coming out until it's like 2 or 3, probably, knowing Roy.
Oof.
Yeah.
That'd be a tough watch.
Yeah.
So especially this early. I mean, we get if it's 9 or 10:30, that's fine. But 6:30, there better be something else going on, because it's going to be a long day then afterwards. So I have a little thing over here I was looking at. Besides the last 2 draws against Palace, it has been just wins upon wins upon wins. A little trivia this morning, as I like to do in the pre-match shows. The last time that Liverpool lost to Crystal Palace was when? Gordo.
I'm going to say, wow, the last time I can remember, because the year that we almost won the title, it was the 3-3 draw, right? It wasn't a loss, it was a draw. Mm-hmm. So I think it would have to have been when Stevie G was out there, I'm assuming, right? It's got to be...
I'm not going to tell you.
2012?
2012? Gally?
I think it's after that, I think. Is it like 2015, 16? At Palace, 1-0?
Mecca?
I'm going to say 2003 to 2004, around about then.
Timothy.
I was more going like 14, 15. But man, I'm trying to remember, did we have like that season where Fab and Hendo were playing center back? Did we have a game that season? Was that Palace? I can't remember. I'll stick with
we lost to everyone that season.
Yeah, that's why maybe it comes to mind. But I was like, was Palace one of them? I'll go with 14.
2017, guys. 2017. Surprisingly,
sack Klopp now. Sack him now.
Yeah, it's absolutely unbearable that he would lose to a Palace team, and the scorer of both goals was Christian Benteke. So even worse.
Yeah,
that's right. No, that was the 2-1 game where Benteke celebrated. Benteke had already been sold, but Sacco was on loan and celebrated on the sideline when he couldn't play with Benteke, and everyone lost their shit about it. Was that the game at Anfield that ended the run? That ended the streak.
No, the streak was ended in 2021.
So that's the loss that began the streak.
Yes.
That is the loss
after that.
They began the streak after that.
Yeah.
So that would have been a better question, just so you know. In the pantheon of trivia questions.
See, this is Gally with trivia.
It's 6:30 in the fucking morning.
Yeah, just answer the damn question.
Here we go.
I didn't get it right, but that's because your question was wrong.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I've been on this podcast with Bickler for 3 years, and that son of a bitch taught me something, and that's how to ruin the trivia program.
I'm going to go through some of these comments because it feels like I didn't see any of these, and they didn't load because all I saw was Sir Z's earlier. So I'm sorry for everyone missing this, but good morning, Ryan. Good morning, Brian. Brian agrees with Gally. Nunez is Mo's preferred partner.
Not a smart decision this early in the morning.
Michael Martin chime in. A fun fact: LCF conceded the fewest goals in the Premier League. Up the Reds, Nunez with a goal and a hat trick of misses. Saidu joins us with a perfect team selection because Henderson is nowhere to be seen. Sir Z, under Brendan Rodgers, was the last time we lost at Selhurst Park. At Selhurst Park, so that is correct. Michael Martin at Anfield. Oh, I guess this is about the question that I asked last time we lost. Saidu again. Today's match is more physical considering Palace. And Michael again. Yes, that was the loss that began the streak. Important loss in the big picture. Yeah, that loss pissed us off. It sounds like. So let's not get pissed off and let's have a happy win. Score predictions. Who wants to start us off?
4-5-0. That's mine.
Love it. Yeah,
I go 3-0. I think they keep the clean sheet. Allison's back. Lots of organization at the back. Kwanzaa puts in a big boy shift, and to Timuchin's point, just pisses everybody off because now they realize they're probably not going to buy a center back in January.
Gordo.
I'm gonna say 2-1. Palace scores first, and they have to wake up Uncle Roy to let him know that they scored. Uncle Roy, we just went ahead. What do we do now?
He's probably gonna ask for when the tapioca pudding comes out. When do we get the pudding?
Timuchin.
I'll go with a painful 2-0 win.
2-0, a painful 2-0. So that sounds like 2 goals after the 65th minute.
Or I expect another Sheffield game, basically, a painful one that we get the second at the very, very end, and until then it's squeaky bum time several times. But it's good to see Becker back because of that.
Saidu agrees with Gally. 3-0.
Way too many people agreeing with Gally this morning. Really concerned.
Way fucking too many. Way too many. I don't even agree with you.
Sir Z will have what Macca is having. Macca, what are you having this morning?
Gin flavored chocolate.
Yeah.
It's morning time.
The good old breakfast days. Yes, the gin flavored.
Dave Leslie just wants to win. I think that's where most of us are at. And Trevor 2-0. Mo gets both. And yes, Trevor does remember, you guys, if you do predict the goal scores and the correct score, you do get a gift from American Scouser, courtesy of my wallet specifically. So never forget to put in your actual predictions for the scorers as well, because I am a man of my word most of the time, every time. So on that,
don't fall for it.
100% of the time.
Do not fall for it. I won that competition once, and he sent me a comb.
I send out these great coasters. On behalf of American Scouser. They're amazing. They got this QR code on the back, let you find all kinds of good content and stuff. So if you want one of those, you don't even have to put a score prediction. You just have to put an address somewhere, and I will ship you some. Because I think if I have any more of them at my house, my wife might light them on fire.
Just have more drinks at once.
Yeah, exactly. See, solutions for every problem.
So, from all of us here at American Scouser, thank you for joining us on this pre-match show. We will be back for the post-match with Macca. He will be leading us in a conversation after a nice victory. Saidu is going Salah, Diaz, Salah 3-0. So, thank you, Saidu, for that. Thank you all for joining us. Up the Reds, and we'll see you in a couple hours.
Let's go.